welcome to the Music is Life podcast. I'm your boy Terrence Cummins, aka the Music Master, coming from Tupelo Music Academy in lovely Tupelo, Mississippi. We'd like to welcome you to the Music is Life podcast again, brought to you by Tupelo Music Academy. We are here. We have a great special guest from the city of Tupelo. I'm excited to have our guest on. But before we get to our guest, like I said, we are brought to you by Tupelo Music Academy, where you can get your music lessons from voice to violin, strings, and everything in between. Tupelo Music Academy is your place for music lessons. You from age 3 and up, if you can go 1, 2, 3, 4, you can learn some music. So you can catch us at 1186 Cliff Gookin here in lovely Tupelo, Mississippi. And I'll be your host and welcome you into the Music Academy. On today, we have a special guest from the Tupelo Public School District. I was able to connect with her on Facebook, and we have some mutual acquaintances here and there. And I reached out, and she was so nice about bringing what she has to the table. The Music is Life community, the Tupelo Music Academy community. This is going to be a great interview, and I'm going to bring her in and let her introduce herself, and we'll go from there. Hey, Miss Smithey. Let's try that one more time.
Okay. Hello there. Do you hear me?
Okay, we got you.
Okay, great.
Hey, Ms. Smithey, for those who don't know you in our community, introduce yourself, tell a little bit about yourself, and we'll go from there.
Okay. Well, I'm Tracey Smithey. I've been teaching for 28 years. I taught most of that time in Vicksburg, but I've been in the Tupelo School District now. This is the end of my 7th year, I believe. And my job here is working with the Structure Show Choir Band at the high school. And then also we've started a rock band program at the middle school, and I work with those students also. And I feel like I have the greatest job in the world. And I used to live in Alabama and drive over here to teach, but I just recently moved here to Tupelo also. So I plan to be here for a while.
Okay. And, we're so happy to have you in our city. I am Tupelo born and bred. So whenever we get talented people in here, I always say we need to appreciate them. So let's jump into our interview, and I'll ask you this: what got you started in music? We're all musicians. We're all music lovers here. What got you started in music?
What got me started in music, as far as being a musician, was since my childhood. The first thing I can remember is noticing music and hearing music, and always trying to identify instruments and figuring out things that I heard. And to me, it seemed like it was magic. People that could perform music had possessed this sort of magic that I just was drawn to. And I really wanted that. So as I got a little older, I'm probably going to date myself here big time, but there was a hit song that came out from the Commodores called 3 Times a Lady. You're familiar with that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So as an 8-year-old child, I heard that. I thought it was the most beautiful thing that I'd ever heard in my life, and I just could not get enough of it. And I told my mom, I want to take piano lessons just long enough to learn to play that song, and then I'll quit. But as it turns out, once I was taking lessons, I loved all songs. So I stayed with that, of course. And then I ended up being in band. I was a marching band kid from 6th grade through high school. And I went as a music major to USM. And, I was all about the marching band. So music's just been part of my life since the beginning.
Okay. And what was your instrument in marching band?
My instrument was alto saxophone.
Hey, I knew that. I just wanted you to say it.
Oh, yeah. I'm recently pulling it back out.
Okay. Well, I definitely connect with you on that. saxophone is still my love, and I marched
Hmm.
from Milam to Tupelo High to ICC and all things between.
Yeah.
So with that, so with your love of music, because I have a similar story of just my mother was the musician, my dad tinkered a little bit, and just having that love for music.
Yeah.
Um, in that developing that magic, what led you to say, hey, I think I could extend this in my career for life? What got you to that point?
Well, in high school, I had like an all-star cast of band directors myself when I was in high school, and they were big mentors to me, and I looked up to them a lot. And I felt like becoming a band director or becoming a music teacher of any sort, I could keep that thing that I love most in my life every day, and still be working around it and a part of it. And so that's what kind of led me to go ahead and major in it, become a music teacher, and I've taught various different types of music. But um, I guess it was a way for me to stay involved with music and not have to put it to the side.
Gotcha, got you.
Hmm.
So in that, um, how did you feel like music education contributes to uh, academic performance? Did you tie it together? Because, and I won't do the setup.
Hmm.
Uh, when I got into junior high and high school, I used music as a way to learn. So like you said, the Commodores, there were certain songs that
Hmm.
clicked with me while I was studying. And so when I went
Hmm.
to do math or science, I related a song in my head to what I was studying. So over the years, how did you correlate
Hmm.
music education to academic excellence?
Yeah, a good question there. But are you talking about as a teacher or as like as a student growing up myself?
Both ways. Both ways.
Okay. Well, to me, that band and music was the reason I got up every day. Still is, and it kept me in school. Not that I would have quit anyway, but it was the thing that I went for. And so, one thing that for sure it does, and I see it happen even here today a lot, it gets the kids to school. So they're coming to be a part of what the band programs or the orchestra programs are doing. But since they're here, they're getting that academic instruction too. So it's just a good thing to keep kids coming here and being a positive part of their school life. Um, I've had a lot of really high achieving students who study music. Some people say, well, maybe just the high achieving students are drawn to music, or is it the music that creates the high achieving student? I think it's kind of some of both, because studying music kind of, I guess, increases your thought processes, expands your mind, and all the things that you do while you're reading and performing music just serve to create a better brain function for
Ah,
for all
yeah.
the academic parts as well, and for sure. And I don't know, I guess that's about it that I
Well,
can
let me
think
ask you
of.
this. So you're in the public school district. How long have you
Hmm.
been teaching?
I've been teaching 28 years.
28 years. And in that
Hmm.
time, has things pretty much stayed the same? Have things changed over the years? What are some of the challenges you're facing in teaching music over the years?
Um, Over the years, there's been lots of challenges, and I have to say, where I am now in the Tupelo school district, they really support the arts here. The community does, the parents do, the administration does. So the challenges that I've had that were the biggest really haven't been from here. But in my history, I've taught elementary music before, and I've taught at the high school level. I've taught about every kind of level, but in particular in the elementary level, there's always the challenge of music being the extra rather than something that's needed.
Right.
And a lot of times, that's the thing that's taken away from kids who have behavior problems, or they take it away because this kid needs some more practice on math. And it's a challenge because sometimes certain people don't see it as something that the kid needs. And I think
Right.
that it is, you know,
Absolutely.
that's definitely. one challenge, and just a lack of value and importance on what we do. I mean, there's been times in my past where they've taken me from the music classroom to get me and go tutor some kids in math, and I'm like, that's totally not what I'm about here.
Right.
You do what you're
Right.
told, but at the same time, it's kind of saying this over here is always more important than what you're doing. And I don't think that's the case. A lot of those are the very kids who need that music education and that creative outlet. Um, some other challenges have been like access to instruments and things that they need for the programs.
Right.
Tupelo is really good at providing that. You know, if a student wants to play an instrument, they're going to find a way to put that instrument in their hand.
Right.
That yeah, that's a challenge for a lot of places in my past anyway. Um, Dealing with personalities and kids in the classroom can always be a challenge. I mean, it's just always there.
Hmm.
But in a band classroom or performing arts, most of the kids that are there want to be there, and that's their thing. So they're not going to be too much of a problem a lot of times. But you know, every now and then it still does happen,
Yeah.
and so that's just a challenge any teacher faces.
Well, let's talk about the structure program because when
Hmm.
I was in junior high, and I'll date myself, uh, back in the '80s, in
Mm,
Tupelo, we didn't have that. Now we had band, but we didn't have
mhm,
that. It was, I think, if I can remember, it's when I went to college is when Tupelo kind of started to
mhm,
develop this program, and I was
mhm.
actually one of the first horn players called back to play. So, tell me a
Wow.
little bit more about this program and how it's structured, which is called structure, and
Yeah.
and give me a little bit about that.
Okay. Well, structure is technically is the band who plays for the show choir here. Synergy is the current leading show choir. Very, very good, award winning. We win lots of competitions. But Structure's job is to play the music for them to sing and dance to. So that is the number one thing. Um, but we have times through the year, since we are a class period, that we can have time to do other things. So I started out my second year here doing a fall show and a spring show of just structure the band themselves, putting together music on our own and putting on our own little show. And it's kind of grown, and I mean, it's really grown since the beginning. So we play all types of music. We do, you know, rock and roll, country, blues, jazz. I try to include a lot of different types of genres because kids don't always, they're going to play what they listen to, and they're not going to experiment in all the other ones. So I like to make sure that they get a good representation from everything, and that's included in their education. But that's structure, and it's a lot of fun. And in fact, the middle school administration had seen some of our concerts and decided along the way that they wanted to start something similar at the middle school level. So I was lucky enough to get included in on that. So we now have a rock band. It's actual rock band class in the middle school, and they don't play for the show choir or anything. They're not quite ready for that, but we put on concerts of similar type of music that Structure does in their shows, and kids learn and gain confidence in being on stage, and you know, it's a lot of fun, and people look at it and say, you know, you're having a lot of fun playing rock and roll, but I promise you they are also learning some really in-depth musical skills too.
I love that.
So yeah,
Now,
I do too. And yeah, you can take about any song and teach about anything from it, you know.
this so the junior high, the name of that is
Hmm.
what now?
Matrix.
Matrix. Okay. And with Matrix, this is
Matrix is the name of the band.
seventh and eighth grade students or just eighth grade students?
Yes,
Okay.
seventh and eighth.
And they're singing,
And
you
we're
got
currently
guitars.
auditioning.
Okay.
Yeah, we have if anything that I can, if a student can already play their instrument, and at the middle school, they can be like at a beginner level, but have a grasp of what they're doing, then I can audition them and they can come in and be a part of that group.
Okay.
Structure in the high school is a little more difficult. You've got to really be a top notch player. You can, a lot of them come in, you know, a pretty decent player, but they get, you know, better as they go. We get some really skilled musicians in that group.
I could imagine. I could imagine. And
Hmm.
if I was in high school, I would have loved to been in
Oh,
that
me
group.
too. I would
To
have loved to have
love to be
done
in that
this.
group. So since we are on the Music is Life podcast, sponsored by
Hmm.
Tupelo Music Academy, and we're all about music education, um, two things. Did you ever take music lessons? And what do you think about music lessons and coaching in general?
Music lessons are, I think that any director would agree, are the key to excelling in what you're doing. I always took them. I mean, I took piano lessons, of course, but even when I was in band through junior high and high school, I had a private lesson teacher on the side, and that's how I got ahead of everybody else. I was in the Lions All State band
Mm-hmm.
for all 4 years of my high school, and I attribute all of that to being able to have those private lessons like that. And I encourage my kids here, especially at the middle school level, to go out and seek and get those private lessons because that's where you're really going to learn the most.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Absolutely. So with that, all right. So we've kind of got into the education side. We've talked a little bit about lessons.
Hmm.
So if you had today everything that you know now in your head and you had to start over, what would you change or what would you keep the same?
Starting over as a teacher, or
Well, if you started your journey over and
okay,
you're starting out in music, would you pursue more opportunities to perform? Would you have pursued, just
yeah, I would. After I got out of college and became a teacher, for a while there, it was all about the teaching, and I was no longer playing and doing. Um, that changed after a while, but I think that's important for any teacher of music is to continue to play your instrument and to keep up that skill and to be able to demonstrate. And definitely that I'd play some more. Um, I would probably pick up another instrument. One thing I like about the Tupelo area is you have not just the marching band, there's orchestra. I always wanted to
right?
play the violin, but there was nothing like that available when I was young. There was no teachers in the town that I lived in. It wasn't in
Hmm.
the schools. I don't know that I even saw a violin until I went to college, but I would
Right.
love to play the string instruments. If I could go back in time, I would definitely seek that out, cello or violin one. Um, I guess that's about all I can really think of. I
Well,
mean,
it
I
looks
would have
like
gotten more degrees than I did.
well, it looks like you wouldn't change a thing on how things went for you. It's just
Hmm.
and for some people that is fantastic. It's not a do over. It's more of hey, I love
Yeah,
my track, and that's just the way it was.
I have, and I've learned a lot even from the bad times and the mistakes. That's kind of got me where I am, and I learned from them. So I wouldn't necessarily want to take all of them away.
Well, well, since you brought that up,
Hmm.
talk a little bit about that because this is something that I get from students at our academy. When it gets
Hmm.
tough, a lot of times they want to
Hmm.
quit, they get discouraged. Oh, I'm not growing. So, in those difficult times, what would you advise young musicians to do during that time, especially during the early learning phases?
Hmm. Sometimes, you can get so caught up on something you're trying to accomplish and you're doing the practicing, you're doing all the things that you need to do to make it better. But
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you need to just step away for a minute. I deal with this a lot in piano class. I teach a piano class here too. It's like you have spent this amount of time on it and you're still having trouble. Step away, do something else for a minute, come back to it, and I promise you, it's going to come a little easier then. So sometimes we do just have to step away. As long as we come back, then
Right.
that's
Don't quit.
fine. But yeah, you can your brain can just get so stuck on one problem that it can't fix, and sometimes you just need to step away and come back.
I like that. I like that. Well,
Hmm.
Miss Smithy, this has been a very, very good interview. You've given us some gems for young musicians to
Hmm.
learn. So, if they're looking for you, how can they find you? How can they locate you?
Well, I teach Tupelo High School. Um, and I teach one class a day at the middle school. I do go over there and then come back up here. But my email address is trsmithy@tupeloschools.com. And I'm always happy to answer questions or of any sort at any time. Um,
Now,
and
do
that's
y'all have any
I,
events
most of
coming
the
up?
time. We just finished our spring showcase last week. We don't have any other performances this year. We're currently doing auditions for next year.
Okay.
So, auditioned for Matrix students yesterday. But if there's any others, if anyone missed that, they could contact me through the school and I can talk to them about it, but only before Friday.
Gotcha.
Structure auditions. I have a second group at the high school also. Foundations is what we call them,
Mm-hmm.
and they're a rock band class as well. So I do auditions at the high school level, and I place kids either in structure or in foundations group, and they get to work in one or the other. And those auditions are tomorrow at the PAC. From They just have to be here at 3:30 and stay for a few hours because
Gotcha.
I put them in groups and they play around together. And so we're auditioning right now, and that's about all that we have left going on.
Okay. Well, look, I definitely appreciate you coming out today, being a part of the Music is Life podcast. This is going to be definitely a gem for our parents and students and for our community. I
Yeah.
appreciate you. We will be reaching out again to have you, and I'm gonna try to get an opportunity to come out to one of the shows and at least
Yeah.
do some videos for the community. And I know
Yeah.
we have a few kids that are in Matrix, and
Uh huh.
and so I definitely want to support our Tupelo
Right.
Music Academy kids, but just to show our community that hey, there are things like this that's going on within our school district
Mm-hmm.
and within our city. People need to know that. So I
Yes.
appreciate you coming out
Yes.
today.
All right. And I appreciate you inviting me.
Yes, ma'am. All right, I'm gonna end it with this. So again, we appreciate Miss Smithey coming out to the Music is Life podcast. I'm your guy, Terrence Cummings. Again, this is sponsored by Tupelo Music Academy, where you can get your music lessons. We do it all: voice to violin, strings, and everything in between. If you're looking for music lessons starting at age 3 and up, we are your place at 1186 Cliff Gookin Boulevard here in lovely Tupelo, Mississippi. We'd love to have you. Thank you for being a part of the Music is Life podcast. Y'all be blessed.